What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Barber Jase and welcome back to another video. And guess what? We got an exclusive scissor cut for you guys. You guys wanted it, so here it is. You know, anything is possible when you're with Barber Jase. Even the impossible is possible. But shout out to all my Chopstix Gang peoples. Shout out man like Derek DXZ Films, and also my little cousin Leonardo in the chair getting a cut. And thank you to everyone watching right now. If any of these videos help you guys, make sure clicking the link in description, you can buy me a drink. But let's jump straight into the video guys. Firstly, wetting down the hair. If you guys have a backwash or somewhere to wash the client's hair, I advise you guys to do that first, maybe even condition it. You want to make sure that hair is fully saturated so you can get good tension and also cleaner sections. And after that, you want to section off the hair. You want to create a horseshoe section, separating the top and the sides. And my first section, starting on the right side because I'm right-handed, I'm just going to section out a vertical section just slightly behind the front hairline, and I want to pull that straight out and cut it to the desired length. I'm going to take off about half the length, and this is going to be the guide for the rest of the sides. This technique I'm doing is called underhand. So as you can see, I'm cutting on the inside of my fingers rather than on top of my fingers. This is going to allow me to pull the hair straight out towards my body. I'll be able to see the guide a lot easier. It's going to be a lot easier for my body positioning. And it's a really good technique to learn. This is one of the first techniques you need to learn when you're doing a scissor cut. Once you can do this, you can do more advanced scissor cut techniques such as like graduation, connecting, and all them things there. As you can see right there is my guide for my previous section, and I'm cutting to the guide. Make sure you pull the hair out 90 degrees from the head or round the head. You don't have to over direct it down, just pull it straight out. And here I'm just cross checking my previous section to make sure I followed the guide correctly, and as you can see it looks pretty good. So my next section is next door to that on the left, and as you can see it's right there. This is just a basic way to cut the sides with the scissors. There is loads of other ways. You can do graduation, which will be a bit more of an advanced technique. You can also scissor over comb for shorter lengths, and you can also do reverse layer. But I think this technique is your bread and butter. You need to learn how to do this technique first before you can do others, unless you want to scissor over comb shorter lengths on the sides. Some people just like a scissor cut finish, even though if they like it short, you can still give someone a scissor cut. So for this video guys, I'm not using clippers at all. I'm going to complete the whole haircut by using scissors. So right here, I'm just going to point cut some of the outlines into it. As I said, no clippers. I'm purely using scissors. So even for the outlines, we're keeping it nice and natural, but we're still creating a bit of shape. Point cutting with my scissors, using the tips of my scissors, and I'm mirroring the natural hairline to give it some shape. As you can see, I'm doing this step now. I would normally do it after I've done underhand around the head. I'm doing this now because I was going to give my little cousin a 0.5, but I convinced him to do a scissor cut after this. So I was just going to do underhand on half the head and then just take it off to a 0.5, but we're just going to continue doing a scissor cut. I was thinking he ain't got a choice. The people want to see a scissor cut, so I'm going to do it on him. So right now I'm just making sure it's wet. You don't want some parts of the hair dry, damp, wet. You want it all to be wet so you can get the same tension. Also, water gives the hair more elasticity, so it's very important it has the same moisture all the way around when you're cutting it. So I'm just going to continue doing underhand technique all the way around the sides, and I'm following my previous guide or my previous section as a guide, making sure I'm stepping around the head, making sure my body is right in front of the section. A very important thing about this technique is body positioning. You want to make sure that client's head is straight, otherwise that will affect the shape of your haircut, and also where you're standing, making sure you're standing in front of the section so you're pulling it straight towards your body so you're not over directing. And also you want to make sure your knees are slightly bent and your back is straight to protect yourself from mashing up your back. But that is it, the sides are done, and I'm just going to use my comb to measure both sides to make sure it's even. before point cutting this other side to give it cleaner outlines. So now moving on to the top, I'm just going to cut the top square, and I'm just putting in my profile line in right now. I'm going to take off a good amount. It is super long now, so yeah, almost half. Make sure you check out my other basic barbering videos, how I layer hair, how I do this technique. Make sure you follow your guide. Make sure your fingers are in the correct shape, and make sure you're pulling the hair in the right direction to create the correct layers. Now cutting the back, I'm going to slightly round it. As you can see, I'm pulling it 90 degrees to the head, and I'm rounding my fingers, cutting it following the shape of the head. Round the back, I don't want it to be too heavy, otherwise it's almost going to look like the hair is hanging over. And I also need to connect it in to the underhand as well. So by rounding the back, I'm not going to create a fat corner. So guess what we need to do after I've finished cutting my layers and cross-checking the top? Yep, we're going to connect the two together. We're going to connect the layers into the length on the sides. So creating a middle parting, and I'm just going to pull the hair down into my underhand, and I should see a guide underneath it, and I'm just going to cut to that guide. You can do this in smaller sections, but I'm just going to create a middle part, and I'm going to cut it to the guide. The reason why I'm doing it straight from the middle parting is because I'm going to check it afterwards anyway. You can take smaller sections, will be cleaner. And as you can see here, look, I'm over directing it slightly down, so I've got slightly more weight around the corners. So here I'm cross checking it, I'm pulling out vertical sections instead of pulling it horizontal. I've done horizontal sections before to connect, and now I'm checking it with vertical sections. Any bits I see hanging over, I'm just going to connect it in. As you can see right here, there's a slight connection I need to adjust. Connection done. Let's blow dry it into style to see how it sits. Starting by drying off the sides, and because it's a scissor cut, we're going to actually style the sides as well. If it's a clipper cut, then you're just going to be starting from around the connection area, but from here. But with this haircut, we're starting with the sides. We need to make sure the sides are dry before drying the top. Now moving on to the top, we're going to start from the back, and finally we're going to dry off the fringe. This is where you can see if your scissor cut was on point. It should sit nicely. And this is why I love doing scissor cuts. It's a lot more fun to style, there's a lot more movement, you can style the sides, and it's just more of a softer, more natural finish. I love doing scissor cuts, but the only thing is I don't really have many clients with long hair. So if any of my clients are watching this, if you grow out your hair, I'll be happy to cut it. So now I'm doing a bit of scissor over comb. This scissor over comb is not to connect, but to taper the hairline. So I'm using it as almost like a clipper. I'm scooping out, tapering the hairline so it's not as heavy, and it gives it a slight graduation from short to long. So starting at the bottom, and I'm going to slowly scoop my scissors out to blend into the underhand. Really good technique to taper a scissor cut. Mind out for the client's ears, you don't want to chop anyone's ears off. So right here I am just removing some weight from the back, doing a bit of texturizing only at the back because it is a bit heavy, just to remove some weight. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I used to hate scissor cuts, but it's something that you'd learn to love. As you can see from this haircut, I've only used scissors, and to know that I've done a full haircut using scissors and I haven't used any machines, it is oddly satisfying and rewarding. Sometimes doing zero fades, bald fades all day can be boring. It's not you doing the haircuts, it's the machine. Well, you kind of are, but you know what I mean. The clippers are doing the work. With the scissors, it's just your hands, a comb, and a pair of scissors. It's all you. And this is something that I've learned to enjoy later on in my career. Let me tell you a story. I remember when I was learning, when I was a student cutting hair in barber school, I had a client in my chair that wanted a scissor cut. And I remember I gave him a full haircut, finished it, everything. It took me about an hour and I told my educator to check it to see if it was all good. I remember his reaction and he basically told me the haircut was dead. It was completely off. And I remember going home that day from school and I was just sad. I messed up this guy's hair. But I went home, I got out my head block, my mannequin head, and I was practicing my underhand technique all night. Not just that night, but I was practicing every night for that whole week. And guess what? When I got a scissor cut the next time, it was on point. Even though I hated doing it at that time, I had to work on my weaknesses, I had to face my fears to become better, you know. But here we are 6 years later on YouTube and I'm showing you guys how I perform my scissor cuts. But thank you for watching this video, guys. I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this scissor cut. Hope I was able to inspire you guys. Thank you for all the kind messages. Stay fresh, stay faded, stay blessed. It's your boy Barber Jase. Peace.